Welcome to the second part of the mini lecture on delivery. This part will feature the body. In our first part, we discussed the use of the voice, how important it is to vary the use of our voice. We call that vocal variety, and it adds meaning to our audience and also conveys a certain amount of ethos. In the second half, we're going to talk about the use of the body, which includes facial expressions, facial gestures, hand gestures, eye contact, and posture. It's using your body to convey meaning to a particular audience. And there's a tremendous amount of information that's passed on non-verbally. Many statistics show that over half of the information conveyed through a speaking exercise is conveyed through nonverbal expressions. So let's talk about the use of the body, in particular, facial expression. It's okay to add emotion appropriate to the occasion, such as anger or fear or sorrow or joy or happiness, using your face. For example, if I were to ask you to give a speech about a complicated topic, a heavy topic such as date rape, and all you had was your delivery, the use of your body, to express meaning to an audience, how would you go about doing that? What expressions would you use to try to heighten it? How would you show emotion such as anger or fear or sadness or outrage just using your body, or maybe even just using facial expressions? Now, eye contact is another important aspect, and making eye contact with the audience can be a great way to connect. It lets the audience know that we're having a conversation. And obviously, there are two extremes to eye contact, like many other aspects of delivery. We don't want to stare at somebody for so long. Hi, how you doing? I'm Dr. Creepy, and I like to make a rug out of your skin. We certainly don't want to go to that extreme, and we also don't want to go to the other end where our eyes are going back and forth like Uncle Fester. We want to go for what we call sustained eye contact. That is, we want to span the room. Pick out a portion of the room from left to right and start and make brief eye contact with somebody. Hold it for a moment, move to the center, move to the right. And the idea is that you're constantly making contact with the audience, and you're letting them know that I'm having a conversation with you. And this works whether you're in a big hall or a small room. Instead of picking out an individual, you pick out a portion of the auditorium you're speaking to. Now, obviously, sustained eye contact is different from too much eye contact, and it's different from the Stevie Wonder, where people's head is all over the place, or there's the guy who's staring off into space or down at his feet. These two can take away ethos and do convey meaning that you are in fact nervous or have anxiety. So these nonverbals always convey some sort of meaning to the audience, and eye contact is a great way to make a good impression and to convey meaning. Now, gestures. Your author has here we're talking generally about hand gestures, and the importance of the hand and arms and the body is extremely important. Now, hand gestures, I have a tendency to say, do what you're most comfortable with. I would say, unless you're John Madden, I wouldn't go wildly gesticulating with your arms up above you, boom, whap, bam. I'd kind of stay away from that unless you're Mr. Madden and that works for you. Do what you're comfortable with. If you're used to having your hands be very expressive, just make sure that it's not distracting to your audience. Does it add something? Does it add some form of conversation? Here we're speaking without a podium in this classroom, and so we have one hand available to gesture. And matter of fact, you might even incorporate that with some eye contact and some pausing, and maybe look to the left, make some eye contact, make a hand gesture, and even pause for a particularly poignant point. So using your hands in a fashion that you feel comfortable with, and that's something you're just going to have to experiment with as a speaker, can add meaning and convey expression as a speaker. Posture and movement. Now, posture and movement, there's all sorts of studies on posture and movement and the effect that it has on an audience. Obviously, you don't want to walk up to the podium, or if you have no podium, as in this class, then you don't want to come up there and you don't want to slouch. You want to stand up straight. You want to convey that you have confidence in what you're going to say, and you want to deliver it with your feet firmly planted underneath you. So posture is extremely important. Same thing with movement. it's appropriate to have a certain amount of movement, even from behind a podium. But if you don't have a podium, you have the luxury of a bit more movement. Now, obviously, you don't want to go to the opposite. I think of a student of mine a number of years ago, and I've seen some speakers do this as well, where they have so much movement, it looks like they're on a racetrack and they're cutting a rug across the stage. And that frenetic energy, which oftentimes is nervous energy for them, really conveys to the audience that, hey, this person has anxiety, and it takes away from their performance. So a little bit of movement, if it's motivated by something, is not a bad thing. It shows that you're not standing there on the opposite fashion where you're totally stiff as a board, where you have your hands in your pocket or your legs crossed. So think of your movement as anything that might take away from you and your credibility as a speaker. So movement is extremely important. And as we can see, the whole aspect of using the body is extremely important, an important aspect of delivery. And I can't emphasize this enough. Both vocal and nonverbal delivery help to convey meaning and express ethos to the audience. In our next mini lecture, we're going to be looking at the effects of presentational aids. Today, we've discussed the importance of delivery, both vocal and the use of the body. And next time, we will look at the effects of using presentational aids on a speech. See you then.